Well, the Winnipeg Fringe Theatre Festival is on now, running for most of the month, and this morning we are getting the chance to catch up with one of the many incredibly talented performers expected at this year's festival. Ira, also known as Mr. Coffeehead to audiences, is joining us right now with more. Good morning, Ira, and thank you so much for taking the time today.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, we as artists really appreciate when the media shines a spotlight, already started with the puns, on theater. So thank you.
Well, we're so happy to have performers from abroad come to our city to perform. Your show had us with the name right away. Anything with coffee on the morning news, we are all about. Slapstick tragedy, I want to get into that, what we can expect and what this show is really all about.
Well, slapstick tragedy, as the poster says, it's a foot-fueled slapstick tragedy about bikepacking, dreaming big, and giving up in your 30s. It's basically a show about, you know, as a kid, we make art for art's sake, and it's really, really fun. We draw, we make stop-start animations, and we're really into our process. And this is the show where, you know, we're not looking as adults. We try to monetize that. We try to monetize our art, and we find worth in that, in money exchange for our art. This show is really trying to harken back to that love of making art for art's sake. I didn't necessarily want to make much theater anymore prior to this show because it's just a lot of grinding. It's a lot of work, and this is kind of my ode to that child version of me, trying to go back to that and rekindle that light inside that little Ira.
And I understand that this is your first solo piece in a few years now. You've obviously been a performer. Your footage looks great when you're in front of audiences, but it seems like it would be a lot of work. And is it nerve-wracking at all being alone? You on the stage, the puppets, the props, what's that all like?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a lot. Like I've had a lot of help on this. My partner Ruby Arnold made all the props and did the set design and the posters and everything. Aslam Hussein is the director, so I'm not really alone. But yeah, with original music and original songs, and also having to do the footwork and dancing, it's a lot of tiring work. But it's so soul quenching to do this work, and because I have the privilege to do it. Art making is a privilege. So to have that privilege to do it, sure, it's alone sometimes at the end of the evening when you're like, where do I go to eat at a restaurant by myself? But in general, I'm not alone. I'm with an audience. And our shows are relaxed performances, which means that the house lights never go down in the theater, and you can also get up and walk around, and you don't have to sit in the theater like very strictly. And that means I can see the audiences, and I can really, really build those connections with them.
Well, everything that we're seeing so far, it looks amazing. You've gotten great reviews already at the Montreal Fringe Festival last month. So before we let you go, how can people follow along, find out where you're going to be, make sure that we are there to experience it?
Okay, so I open tonight, and that's the big night that we as Fringe artists hope that people will show up to. But I go from July 4th, Mr. Coffeehead, July 14th to the 24th at Circle Moliere out in St. Boniface at the Franco Center. You can also visit our website, www.spec theatre, SPEC theatre, spelled with the RE.com. Or on Instagram, Spec Theatre, Twitter, Spec Theatre 1, Facebook, Spec Theatre. Just follow us in all of the social media platforms and you'll find us.
There's a lot to see out there. I certainly appreciate you taking the time this morning before what's going to be hopefully a very busy run. Thank you again. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kahla.